in violation of state law in applying for the grants or moving ahead with the building project. We are not in violation of state law. He was under the assumption that we are doing this by the seat of our pants and that we are not coming up with certified construction documents and bids. We are. It is actually to our advantage the time that we are doing this now versus the departments that did this 4 or 5 years ago and had those documents sitting on the table. The reason being, this grant application is so specific to the types of building and what is required in the building that documents that are already in place may not even qualify. And to add this, it is my assumption and belief that under this grant we cannot apply for the satellite hall. All right? I'll state that right now. The committee, the building committee will have to make final decision on that. But as we read through the requirements of that building, it will, because to be eligible for the grant, number one, you have to have sleeping quarters in the building. Number two, it has to be sprinkled. Number three, it's going to be a LEED project. That is an environmental project. You get points for your environmental friendliness on the building, your heating system, all of this stuff. This is a big aspect that we are going to be in place for, that departments that have already got this documentation ready aren't going to be ready for. If you read through this, and I've done it several times, on what they believe is going to be put out into this document, we are matching and meeting every one of those word for word. Second of all on this, a member of our fire department is a consultant to Stanius & Johnson. He works for the State Fire Marshal's office. He is actually over and above most of what Bruce and Warren do through the supervisor position to the State Fire Marshal's office. He is very qualified and very meticulous. We are not wasting anybody's money, and we are doing everything possible to get these grant funds. We know it's competitive, we know it's tight, and we also know we have as good, if not better chance than most of the departments that are going to be applying.
I would like to speak now. When I had talked to both Warren and Bruce, both of them had informed me that they had never spoke to you, but that they had been in contact with Mr. Bergstrand. They also told me that it wasn't sure either because they still don't have the program guidance document, that it would follow the other one that was just out not too long ago, and that we should be documenting all of the structural damage because they said that the fire departments with the most structural damage would actually be the first ones in line. They also both informed me, plus Peter Makowski from Congressman Overseer's office, that Grand Rapids is trying to do a whole training facility, so they might have first dibs. The Virginia City Fire Hall has a lot of structural damage, and that they do have a fire hall set up where people are already sleeping there. So to me, they were very cautious, and that's why they wrote this. And all I'm trying to do is educate people, because my fear is that if the grant money is not received, and let's say that the township, because before the township can go forward, the town board can go forward with the new fire hall building, we have to have voter approval by law. We have to. It has to be okay with you, and then what the township does is you give us the exact cap of the expenditure that we can actually spend. So I'm just afraid that if we don't get the grant money, the township doesn't approve. Please just let me just talk for one more second. I have one more point. If the township doesn't approve the building, then we would be out the $88,000 because people in the township might not want to build the exact square footage of the building that's there. And maybe I'm wrong, because I'm assuming that the bid, that we just spent the $88,000 or $66,000 and $22,000 was for the addition and then what if the township doesn't agree to spend the money on the fire hall? Just in case we don't get the grant money, then are we out that money then?
If the grant money doesn't come in, then it just goes through the voters thing. We're out that money for the engineering.
But
That's all.
the engineering money gets kind of put in a bank,
For the,
and they'll bring it
Total
back up.
project cost.
Yeah, right.
So-
It's not a lost effort here.
so if we do go back and then, let's say that the township doesn't want, if we don't get the grant money, the township doesn't approve the building as big as it is or something or
Right,
other, the money goes into a
We're putting
bank.
the cart in front of the horse. The first thing we have to do is get this engineered thing according to the grants plan that they have, what they're having, like Mark said.
But the program guidance
No,
document
don't,
isn't
hold on.
out yet.
Okay, no.
We're just going back and
Right.
forth on the same basic thing here. We got some people out here that would like to ask a few questions. There was somebody in the back there that raised their hand. I'll call on him here.
We've got two separate things here, don't confuse it. Under the one grant, you can fix up your fire hall and make repairs to it. That's separate, that's the $100,000 thing, that's the one Warren was talking about. Number two, the other thing is when you're applying for a grant for a new building, people that are going over your grant don't like it if you're already in process of building it. So if you've already been started, they won't give it to you. But in order to give it to you, you have to have a plan in place. So what Mark is trying to do, what you're trying to do is get a plan in place so that you can say, we would like to build this building, here's what our plan is. We've not built it yet. Okay, those are two separate things. Now, if you decide to spend the money for the architect, you do lose the $66,000 if you don't build the building temporarily. If you go back 2 years from now and then build the building, you get that 66 credited and they have to finish the project for you, unless you build a different kind of building. That's all. It's not any harder than that. It's simple. The other thing is the town boards for things that are having to do with safety. Water systems, sewer systems, roads, safety items that keep people alive or dead can be voted on and run and put on levies by the town board. The hell with what the township thinks. Because this is not a town meeting, this is a town board meeting. We get to watch you do the thing, and if we don't like it, we vote you out. That's all. Thanks.
That's great. There's a gentleman in the back row there. Do you want to still say something?
Yeah, I got a question. I understand that, we went forward to get bids on this fire hall. But I guess I got questions that, just hearing you just tonight now, we've got sleeping quarters in the fire hall. How many people are we looking at doing something like that for?
That's going to be state law. That's going to be federal law.
Right.
That we have to have, it's a facility to do
Requirements
that?
for
Yes,
the
for-
facility to
for-
applying for the grant, to be eligible for the grant. you will have to have-
That's less than 2 years away.
Okay, well, I didn't understand
Yeah.
that on a voluntary fire department,
No, it's going
having
to
sleeping
have to
quarters
be
there.
manned 24/7,
So in other words, we'll have a fire chief
right?
and a crew
No,
there?
it has to be 24/7 capable.
Well, I didn't understand that. I'm just asking that, that's all, to get more information.
Mark, go ahead and explain that out real quick.
I understand that if you have to have that part of it in to get the money for the grant, then so be it, but I didn't